After a string of massive, reality-bending, history-defining films, Christopher Nolan is turning his sights on, well, the bedrock of Western literature.
Yeah.
Today, we are plunging into the hype, the cast, and the mythological vision for his next blockbuster, the 2026 epic adaptation of Homer's The Odyssey.
It's a huge one.
And you know the drill. The cultural anticipation is already, frankly, unbelievable. We're talking IMAX 70mm tickets sold out a year in advance for its release.
A full year.
It's not just a film opening. It's become this global appointment cinema event.
It absolutely is. And, the scale is warranted. To even approach this, you have to understand the sheer weight of the source material. Homer's epic is. I mean, it's foundational. It's the story of Odysseus.
Yeah.
The brilliant but deeply flawed king of Ithaca. He spends a decade fighting at Troy.
And then another 10 years just trying to get home.
Exactly. A 10-year, storm-tossed, God-cursed journey just to return to his own family.
So that's our mission today. We're going to distill everything we know about this project. We'll look at what makes adapting this story so uniquely challenging, what we can confirm about the plot, and, crucially, how Nolan plans to bring gods and monsters to the biggest screen possible.
Okay, so let's just unpack that core challenge.
Yeah.
The narrative itself is incredibly complex. It's not a simple linear travel story.
Right.
It's a dual narrative. You have Odysseus out at sea, battling monsters, storms, and vengeful gods. And a lot of that is told in flashback.
But then you have the other half of the story happening at the same time.
Right, the present-day crisis back in Ithaca. His wife Penelope and his son Telemachus are essentially fighting a losing domestic war.
Against the suitors.
Against over 100 aggressive, power-hungry suitors who think Odysseus is dead and are just trying to seize the throne.
It's a 20-year saga, really. It covers the known and definitely the unknown world. I've heard the attempt to adapt it compared to trying to adapt the entire Christian Bible into a single movie.
And that comparison really holds up. It's not just about the length, it's the density of it. Like the Bible, the Odyssey, established these archetypes, these myths that, govern basically every story told since.
Wow.
It covers everything. Vengeance, hospitality, loyalty, the whole span of human experience from war hero right down to beggar. Trying to capture that in 3 hours is a director's nightmare.
And at the absolute center of that nightmare is Odysseus himself. He's incredibly clever. I mean, the Trojan horse was his idea.
His idea.
But what really drives this whole 20-year journey isn't his cleverness, it's his fatal flaw.
Hubris.
Exactly. His pride.
Yeah.
His tendency to boast and to challenge the divine is the direct cause of almost every single problem he faces.
If he just kept his mouth shut.
He would have been home years, maybe a decade earlier, no question.
And this is where, for me, the tension with Nolan as a filmmaker comes into sharp focus. The original epic is often about man defying the gods, right? And the price you pay.
But Nolan's work, from Oppenheimer to Inception, it almost always examines hubris as an internal fatal flaw. A moral failing that just guarantees your own disaster.
Which creates this immediate conflict in how you interpret this story. Is this journey a result of, petty external vengeance from the gods?
Or is it all a self-inflicted downfall from Odysseus' own ego?
Exactly. And the choice the filmmakers make on that question, that's going to determine the entire moral message of the film.
It's the central question. And speaking of embodying these ideas, we have to look at this pantheon of actors they've assembled. The roster alone just signals immense ambition.
Oh, it carries incredible weight. They're giving faces to figures who've only existed in art and our imaginations for millennia.
So Matt Damon as Odysseus, he's the confirmed lead, and the little glimpses we've seen of him are so crucial to the tone. He's not some conquering hero. He's haggard, he's alone, he's clinging to debris. It's ruin, not triumph.
And that visual of ruin is directly tied to his hubris. The reason he's drifting on debris is because he angered Poseidon, the sea god. So Damon's look isn't just aesthetic, it's a living consequence of his actions.
And he can pull it off. I mean, after the last duel, he has the chops for this kind of intense period epic.
No doubt.
Then you have Tom Holland, confirmed as his son, Telemachus. At 29, this is a huge dramatic performance for him.
A huge step outside his comfort zone.
Yeah. Telemachus is an adult who's grown up in the shadow of this legendary father he's never met. He has a good heart, courage, but he just lacks his father's authority.
And the trailer seems to spend a lot of time on Telemachus' journey. his quest to find out what happened. It suggests Nolan is really giving that Ithaca drama equal footing with the sea adventures.
Right. And then you have the forces of myth. Charlize Theron is confirmed as Circe.
The goddess, the witch, famous for turning men into pigs.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that recent fiction, like Madeline Miller's book Circe, has given that character a much more complex, humanized arc than just, a one-dimensional villain.
And the cast just gets deeper. Anne Hathaway is reportedly playing Penelope,
The loyal wife.
the dignified, clever, and incredibly loyal wife whose intelligence is basically her only weapon against the suitors for 2 decades.
And Zendaya is on the roster. The rumor is she's playing Athena.
Odysseus' biggest supporter among the gods. Even if her role is brief, it's pivotal. She represents intellect, strategy. She's his lifeline against the other, more spiteful gods.
We also hear Benny Safdie is playing Agamemnon, who Odysseus meets when he literally travels to the underworld.
Which is a crucial scene. It's a warning. It's a look at what happened to the other Greek heroes who came back from Troy.
But the biggest mystery for me is the suitors in Ithaca. John Bernthal is all over that teaser in this really volatile confrontation with Telemachus.
Yeah, he's mocking him, right? Asking what prison could hold a man like Odysseus.
His whole demeanor just screams he's either the lead suitor, Antinous, the most vile of them all, or maybe an ally like Pygmalion.
That confrontation is key, though, because Antinous is the one who tries to have Telemachus murdered. The fact that Robert Pattinson is also speculated for that role,
Another huge star,
suggests the suitors aren't just background noise. They're going to be treated as major, credible threats on par with the mythical monsters.
Okay, so let's get into the logistics. What specific monsters and gods do we know Nolan is bringing to life?
What we know for sure, it covers the events right after the Trojan War. The teaser shows a decaying Trojan horse on a beach. There's also a shot of soldiers storming a fortress. That's probably not the fall of Troy itself, but more likely the raid on Ismaris, an early stop that went horribly wrong because Odysseus's men got greedy.
And that iconic visual we mentioned of Matt Damon adrift on the wood, that has a very specific cause, right? It's not just a random storm.
No, it's divine retribution. It happens because despite being warned over and over, Odysseus' starving crew killed and ate the sacred cattle of the sun god Helios. Huge. Helios demands vengeance, Zeus agrees, and he just obliterates the ship with a storm. Every single crew member dies. Odysseus is the only survivor.
And that moment really establishes that core man versus god conflict. We also see this claustrophobic, dimly lit cave in the trailer.
Almost certainly the lair of the Cyclops, Polyphemus.
Right.
And this is maybe the most fateful moment in the whole epic. Polyphemus is the son of Poseidon. When Odysseus tricks and blinds him, that is the precise act that earns him the sea god's personal decade-long curse. It's the origin story for all his suffering.
We also hear that suitor teasing Telemachus, asking what prison could hold Odysseus. That suggests the film will spend time on him being held against his will.
Yeah, and that reference opens up a really fascinating philosophical dilemma. He was imprisoned twice. First for a year on Circe's island, and then for 7 years by the sea nymph Calypso.
And Calypso loved him. She offered him immortality if he would just stay with her.
Exactly. So he wasn't in chains. He was imprisoned by a choice. Trade your human life, your family, your identity for eternal life with a goddess who loves you.
That's an incredibly complex moral problem.
It is. It's profoundly existential. By choosing to return to his messy mortal life, he's affirming the value of humanity over the ease of eternal bliss.
So let's get into how Nolan's signature style interacts with this, because the Odyssey really forces him to break his own rules.
It does. And the first and biggest break is that this is Nolan's first pure fantasy film.
Right. Inception, Interstellar, Tenet, they're all grounded in some kind of science or quantifiable logic, however speculative.
He could always point to physics. But here, how does a director obsessed with reality handle literal, capricious Greek gods, magic, and a trip to a mythological underworld?
He can't ground this story. He has to fully embrace the myth.
It's a massive creative pivot for him. He has to surrender to it.
Which brings us to what I'm calling the practical effects paradox. Nolan is famous for minimizing CGI. He loves in-camera effects.
Loves it.
So how do you shoot a giant Cyclops, or the six-headed sea monster Scylla, practically, on a massive IMAX screen?
He's going to be forced to rely on visual effects more than ever. But I think he'll use his signature tricks to enhance the VFX. Think about Interstellar. He used scaled models and forced perspective.
Oh.
He could do that here, Build giant animatronics, massive physical sets for the cave, have Damon actually interacting with something tangible.
Okay.
The digital effects then get layered on top.
Yeah.
He wants that physical interaction to keep the drama real.
And we know how easy it is to fail with this material. I mean, we saw Troy back in 2004 just omit the gods entirely.
And that's exactly why it failed. You can't have the Odyssey without the gods. Their intervention is the physical manifestation of consequence.
But then you have the Coen brothers with O Brother, Where Art Thou, which succeeded brilliantly.
Because they used Homer's epic as a structural foundation, not a checklist. They kept the core themes, the sirens, the Cyclops figure, the journey home, and just transplanted them to 1937 Mississippi. They understood the themes are universal.
Which brings us back to that huge moral crossroads for Nolan. The moral chaos. Homer's text is. It's really ambiguous.
E.T.
Odysseus is brilliant, but he's also deceitful and capable of extreme violence, like hanging the 12 slave girls who slept with the suitors when he returns.
That final scene is shocking to modern readers. But it's essential to the psychological richness of the myth.
It is. And Hollywood often flattens that complexity, right? They turn these figures into simple, sympathetic heroes for the box office.
So Nolan has a choice. Does he make Odysseus a stereotypical hero we can all cheer for, or does he retain his brilliant, flawed, and sometimes brutally violent nature? Does he respect the myth?
This deep dive really shows that Nolan isn't just making another blockbuster. He's tackling a cornerstone of Western thought. He's facing challenges of scale, of technology, and of immense moral fidelity. This film won't just be a voyage across monster-filled oceans. It has to be about the enormous personal cost of turning a man into a myth.
It's a huge existential challenge, and that really leaves you with something to consider as you wait for this film to come out. If it successfully chronicles that cost, that transition from man to myth, what human flaws like Odysseus' hubris or his capacity for violent deceit will Nolan choose to let survive the journey? And which will he decide to leave shipwrecked on the shore?